So
we tend to,
picture the month of
we
May,
operate under
like
this assumption that celebrity worship is
1914.
like
Europe
an
is
entirely
just
modern
sitting on this
condition.
massive
absolutely.
geopolitical
Like we look at the
powder
sheer
keg.
hysteria
I mean, Archduke
generated by
Franz
internet
Ferdinand
influencers
he's mere
today.
weeks
Yeah,
away
people who
from taking
basically
that
have
fateful
massive
carriage ride in
cultural
Sarajevo
power.
So like
just
the
by
whole
being
world
visible.
is about to change. Exactly.
Exactly.
And we blame
the
the
entire
smartphone. We think,
19th
oh, it's the
century world
algorithm.
order
Right,
is
right.
teetering on the edge
And there's this
of,
collective belief that
the most
before
catastrophic
the digital age,
slaughter in human history.
society was
Yeah.
just
And yet,
anchored
if you
in,
were to
like,
walk across the
genuine
campus
substance.
of Yale
we only
University in New
revered,
Haven, Connecticut,
historical
during that exact
achievement
same
or,
month, you would
inherited
find this
nobility.
22-year-old
or titans
college
of industry.
senior
Yeah.
sitting at a piano.
It's a very
Completely
comforting
oblivious.
historical
completely
illusion.
It really
oblivious
is. I mean,
to the
we
impending
like to
collapse of Western
compartmentalize the
civilization
past as this
because he is
dignified
intensely,
era
like,
of meritocracy.
obsessively focused on finding a rhyme for the phrase Jacobean soup tureens.
It is such a stunning historical juxtaposition.
There really is.
You have the drums of the First World War beating in the distance, and then right in the foreground, you have a young Cole Porter writing a college musical titled Paranoia.
Which, I gotta say, is frankly a brilliant title for a musical set on the eve of a global conflict.
Even if he didn't intend it that way at all.
Right, yeah. Well, welcome to episode 69 of Porter-Pedia.
I could be here.
We are so glad you're tuning in with us for our ongoing exploration of the life, the work, and the incredibly complex mind of Cole Porter. In today's deep dive, we are looking at something really special.
We really are. We spend so much time talking about the finished product.
Oh, for sure. The man in the tailored tuxedo, the cigarette holder.
Yeah, the icon holding court in Parisian salons. But today, we are looking at the rough draft.
The rough draft. I love that. We are analyzing a song from Paranoia called I Have a Shooting Box in Scotland.
And we're treating this song not just as like a piece of juvenilia, but as a crucial historical document. It is a cultural time capsule capturing this highly specific, tremendously privileged bubble of pre-war optimism. Porter's using this lyric to experiment with the technique that would eventually, make him immortal.
Now, if you've been following along with the project, you know we've already dissected his later, more famous list songs.
The big ones.
Yeah, we broke down the mechanics of farming, we unpacked the cultural hierarchy of You're the Top.
That was a fun one.
Oh, so fun. And we mapped out They Couldn't Compare to You. I really encourage you to go back and check those out in our feed. But to understand how he built those masterpieces, you really have to look at the blueprint.
And a shooting box in Scotland is the literal blueprint.
It is. And it is dense, like unbelievably dense. In fact, if you enjoy decoding this kind of lyrical archaeology, you owe it to yourself to pick up the companion book to this show, which is also called Porter-Pedia.
It's essentially a decoder ring.
Yeah. It acts as a decoder ring for over 2,600 specific cultural references Porter dropped throughout his career.
2,600. It's wild when you say it out loud.
It's a massive achievement. The link is in the description, right next to a link to a remarkable audio performance of the very song we're discussing today.
You really have to listen to it.
You absolutely must hear it. It includes the full lyrics, too, so you can follow along.
Having those lyrics in front of you is practically a necessity, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Because the sheer density of the rhymes and the speed of the illusions we are about to unpack it requires a visual anchor.
Yeah.
Porter isn't just dropping names here.
No.
He's building a complex matrix of social signifiers.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's establish the environment that birthed this matrix.
Right. Let's set the scene.
The Yale of 1914 wasn't just an academic institution where you went to, listen to lectures on Aristotle and take exams.
Not at all.
It functioned as a highly pressurized, highly exclusive social algorithm.
That is a really, really accurate way to frame it. The early 20th century Ivy League was an ecosystem completely designed to mold a very specific type of ruling class identity.
Right.
It was entirely male, overwhelmingly wealthy, and deeply, deeply invested in the performance of sophistication.
Performative sophistication. I like that.
Yeah, young men joined secret societies, they staged these elaborate theatricals and essentially tried on different versions of adulthood.
Yeah.
And the currency of this realm wasn't necessarily athletic prowess or even academic brilliance.
Right. The currency was cultural literacy, knowing the right things. I keep thinking about how modern internet creators or influencers use platforms to run A/B tests on their personas.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Right. An influencer might try a grind set entrepreneur aesthetic 1 month.
And then realize the engagement is low.
Exactly. And immediately pivot to a vintage fashion critic aesthetic the next. They use the platform to see what yields the highest social return. Yale was Porter's algorithm.
Hmm.
He was testing out this hyper-literate, worldly, cosmopolitan identity to see how his peers reacted.
What's fascinating here is he was discovering that he could command the room by signaling his awareness of the wider world.
Yeah.
In 1914, dropping a reference to European fine art or a remote colonial outpost wasn't just making a rhyme.
Right, it was proving you belong.
Proving that you belong to an elite, internationally minded club. He was literally using proper nouns as weapons of social dominance.
And he packages this dominance inside a structure he would spend the rest of his life perfecting, which is the list song.
His trademark.
His absolute trademark. He sets up the premise in the very first verse by establishing the psychology of the collector.
Right.
So he writes, let me pull it up here. He writes, "Nowadays, it's rather nobby to regard one's private hobby as the object of one's tenderest affections. Some excel at Alpine climbing, others have a turn for rhyming, while a lot of people go in for collections."
Notice the baseline he establishes there.
Yeah.
He starts with Alpine climbing and rhyming. These are standard, fashionable, Edwardian pursuits.
Very normal for the time.
Very normal. He grounds the listener in reality.
Yeah.
But the moment he pivots to what people are actually collecting, he begins a deliberate, steep escalation into the absurd.
This is where we need to dive into the specific artifacts he lists, because his genius for juxtaposing conflicting cultural tiers is already fully formed right here at 22.
Just all there.
He starts with such as Prince by Hiroshigi, Edelweiss from Off the Rigi.
Which is just a brilliant phonetic and conceptual pairing.
Break that down for us.
So, Utagawa Hiroshige's ukiyo-e woodblock prints represented the absolute height of refined, exotic Japanese artistry.
Very trendy.
Extremely highly prized by Western collectors. And he pairs that delicate two-dimensional elegance with Edelweiss.
The flower.
Right, the rugged, romanticized mountain flower plucked straight from Mount Rigi in the Swiss Alps. So you have the refined aesthetics of the Far East colliding directly with European Alpine tourism.
It's like high art meeting high altitude souvenirs.
Exactly.
And then he hits us with Jacobean soup tureens, early types of limousines.
Oh, this one is great.
Let's just look at the mechanics of this joke. We are taking serving dishes from 17th century England, literally just large bowls for holding soup.
Literally just soup bowls.
And elevating them to the status of priceless antiquities. And then he crashes that 17th century pottery into the bleeding edge of 20th century technology.
Limousines.
Right. In 1914, collecting early types of limousines implies an unfathomable level of wealth.
Oh, it's staggering.
You are buying cars not for transportation, but as giant mechanized paperweights.
Right, they're just objects on a shelf to this guy.
And the phonetic bounce of tureens and limousines makes the temporal whiplash feel perfectly natural.
It's the flattening of time and value. To the ultimate collector, a 300-year-old soup bowl and a brand new luxury vehicle hold the exact same weight.
They're just items.
They are merely objects to be acquired.
But then he takes a hard left turn out of luxury goods and straight into Americana.
Yep.
He says, pipes constructed from a dry cob, baseball hits by Mister Ty Cobb. Now wait.
Here we go.
I have a major issue with the logic of the narrator here. I'm stuck on the Ty Cobb line.
Okay, lay it out.
You can't put a baseball hit in a display case. A hit is an event. It's an action. Is Porter just being sloppy with his imagery here for the sake of a rhyme with dry cob, or is this deliberate?
It is intensely deliberate, and it reveals the core comedic engine of the song. The narrator has become so blinded by the power of his own wealth that he fundamentally misunderstands how reality works.
It's like a modern tech billionaire walking into a stadium, watching a soccer match, and telling his assistant, I want to buy 3 of those goals and mount them in my living room.
Yes, that's exactly it.
The billionaire literally thinks that because he has infinite capital, he can purchase an abstract athletic achievement.
Right.
The humor is the total detachment from reality.
Exactly. Ty Cobb was arguably the most famous athlete on the planet in 1914. He represented gritty, aggressive, working-class American sporting culture. And the narrator thinks he can just casually purchase Cobb's athletic prowess and place it on a shelf next to his corncob pipe.
It's so absurd.
And furthermore, listen to the rhythmic architecture of that juxtaposition. Porter forces the listener to jump from the cheap, rural, homemade object of a dry cob pipe straight to a cultural monolith like Ty Cobb. The internal rhymes are doing the heavy lifting to stitch together fundamentally incompatible concepts.
And he immediately follows that working-class American sports reference with pure literary prestige.
Whiplash continued.
It really does. He says, locks of Mrs. Browning's hair, photographs of Ina Claire.
Yeah.
Now, you don't need a history degree to know Elizabeth Barrett Browning was a towering Victorian poet.
Right.
And Ina Claire was the reigning, glamorous it girl of the Broadway stage at the time. But why pair them? Like, what's the joke there?
Because it contrasts the slightly morbid, obsessive nature of 19th century romanticism with the glossy, disposable nature of 20th century celebrity.
Oh, wow.
Right. Keeping a dead poet's hair is a heavy, sentimental, almost gothic act.
It's very intense.
Very intense. But collecting photographs of a living, vibrant Broadway actress is light modern fan behavior.
It's like having a poster on your wall.
Exactly. By placing them side by side, Porter strips the reverence away from Browning and elevates the pop culture status of Claire.
He then zeroes in on the ultimate flex of the intellectual elite. He says, first editions, still uncut.
Oh, the uncut pages.
Yeah, for a collector, an uncut first edition where the pages literally haven't been sliced apart by a paper knife is the holy grail because it proves the book has never been read.
Right.
The narrator is openly bragging, like, I possess rare literature and I have zero intention of ever consuming the ideas inside it.
He's so proud of it.
It is pure, unadulterated status signaling. And what does he pair it with? Daily pranks of Jeff and Mutt.
The comic strip.
The comic strip.
Mutt and Jeff was mass entertainment. It was printed on cheap newspaper meant to be read and immediately thrown away.
Right, literal trash.
Exactly. So on one side of the rhyme, you have a pristine, physically impenetrable artifact of high literature. And on the other side, you have disposable daily humor for the working class. Porter is democratizing culture through syntax.
And he keeps going, Della Robbia singing boys, signatures of Alfred Noyes. The phonetic friction here is incredible.
It really is.
You have the sweeping, elegant Italian vowels of Renaissance sculptor Luca della Robbia, cascading right into the blunt, abrupt, single-syllable name of the contemporary British poet Alfred Noyes.
Right?
It forces the singer's mouth to drastically change shapes.
It also demonstrates Porter's awareness that his Yale audience would instantly recognize both references.
Because they're all educated in this very specific way.
Exactly. They knew Renaissance relief sculptures, and they knew the guy who wrote The Highwaymen. Porter is validating their expensive education while simultaneously making fun of it.
Then the list just breaks down into a manic hoarding spree.
It totally falls apart.
Fancy bantams, Grecian vases, tropic beetles, Irish laces. The guy is collecting ornamental chickens next to ancient pottery and dead insects.
It's breathless.
It really is breathless. You can feel the psychological desperation of a society obsessed with acquisition. The pacing accelerates to the point where the listener is almost overwhelmed by the sheer volume of stuff.
Which is the precise moment Porter delivers the structural punchline.
Yeah.
He exhausts the listener with this catalog of physical objects, only to pivot and reveal that physical objects bore him.
He drops the hammer. He says, but my favorite pastime is collecting country places.
The physical items were just the appetizer.
Just a warm-up. This guy doesn't collect things, he collects geography.
Yeah, right.
This launches us into the refrain, which functions as a meticulously drawn map of aspirational real estate.
Aspirational geography.
Let's map it out. I have a shooting box in Scotland.
Okay, let's examine the phrase shooting box.
Please do, because it sounds...
To the uninitiated, it sounds rustic,
right? Maybe even primitive. Like a literal wooden box in the woods.
Exactly. But in the lexicon of the British aristocracy, it is a masterclass in false modesty.
Oh, yeah.
A shooting box was a vast, fully staffed, highly luxurious, seasonal lodge used by wealthy elites for hunting grouse on the moors.
Okay, wow.
By calling it a box, the narrator is projecting an air of casual indifference to his own massive wealth.
It's the 1914 equivalent of a hedge fund manager referring to their 30-room oceanfront compound in the Hamptons as the little beach shack.
Yes, the little shack out east.
Yeah.
Exactly. It establishes an immediate baseline of staggering transatlantic privilege.
And he continues plotting the coordinates.
Yeah.
He says, I have a chateau in Touraine. I have a silly little chalet in the Interlaken Valley.
Touraine provides the French royal pedigree.
Right.
Interlaken was the absolute epicenter of high-end European Alpine tourism. And again, notice the phrasing.
Silly little chalet.
Silly little chalet. He is infantilizing his own real estate to show how unimpressed he is by it.
And the geography just expands further. I have a hacienda in Spain, I have a private fjord in Norway, I have a villa close to Rome.
He is claiming ownership over the foundational pillars of European culture.
He's basically playing Monopoly with Europe.
Pretty much. Norway gives him raw, dramatic nature. Rome gives him classical antiquity. Spain provides romantic isolation.
He wraps up the first refrain with his central thesis. And in traveling, it's really quite a comfort to know that you're never far from home.
Because everywhere on the planet is his home.
Right. He literally owns the world.
But he doesn't stop there. He has to justify the logistics of this lifestyle, which he attempts in the second verse.
Oh, the second verse.
Yeah. He says, now it's really very funny what an awful lot of money on exorbitant hotels a chap can squander, but I never have to do so. Like resourceful Mr. Crusoe, I can find a home however far I wander.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. I have to stop you on the Crusoe comparison.
I knew you would.
This is another moment where the narrator's logic completely falls apart under scrutiny.
Completely.
Robinson Crusoe is shipwrecked. He is stranded on a deserted island, eating turtle eggs and trying not to die of exposure or starvation.
He's fighting for his life.
He is the ultimate symbol of desperate, gritty survival. How on earth can our narrator compare himself to Crusoe? Like, our guy isn't resourceful in any meaningful sense. He isn't building a shelter out of palm fronds. He's just pulling a different solid gold key out of his pocket to unlock his Roman villa. Is the narrator just an idiot?
He is deeply insulated, which is the root of the comedy.
Okay.
He genuinely believes that coordinating a private train to a chalet in Switzerland requires the same level of grit and resourcefulness as surviving a shipwreck.
That's hilarious.
He equates his financial liquidity with rugged survival skills. He has never experienced an actual obstacle in his life, so he views luxury travel as a harrowing adventure.
That lack of self-awareness makes the transition into the second and third refrains even more hilarious because he leaves the safety of European luxury resorts and starts casually collecting deeply complex, often volatile geopolitical flashpoints.
This is where it gets dark.
He sings, "I've a bungalow" at Simla.
Simla was the summer capital of the British Raj in India. It was the nerve center of imperial control. When the heat on the plains became unbearable, the entire British administration relocated to the mountains. Owning a bungalow there doesn't just signify wealth, it signifies proximity to the heights of colonial power.
He follows that with, "I have an island east of Maine if you care for hotter places. I have an African oasis on an uninhabited plain. I have a houseboat on the Yangtze. I have an igloo up at Nome."
Look at the climate extremes there.
It's insane. He is jumping from the freezing desolation of Alaska to the massive winding expanse of China's primary river down to the scorching African desert. But the line that truly breaks my brain is in the final refrain.
Fashoda.
Yes. I have a shanty in the Rockies. I have a castle on the Rhine. I have a Siamese pagoda. I have a cottage in Fashoda near the equatorial line. Let's focus on Fashoda.
Fashoda is perhaps the most revealing reference in the entire lyric.
Tell me why.
In 1898, the Fashoda incident brought the British and French empires to the absolute brink of open war.
It was a massive deal.
It was a tense, heavily armed standoff in a remote settlement in Sudan over control of the Upper Nile Basin. It was a major international crisis that dominated global headlines.
And our narrator claims he has a cottage there.
A little cottage.
He has taken the site of a near-global military conflict and turned it into his personal Airbnb.
Exactly.
It is staggeringly audacious. He is stripping these locations of their historical, cultural, and political weight and reducing them to mere accessories for his leisure.
It perfectly captures the imperial mindset of the era's elite youth. To them, the globe was just a catalog of exotic backdrops waiting to be purchased and lightly enjoyed.
Right.
The physical impossibility of maintaining a houseboat in China, an igloo in Nome, a pagoda in Siam, and a cottage in Sudan that is the ultimate punchline.
Yeah.
The narrator has elevated himself from a wealthy traveler to a literal god of geography, unbound by time, space, or logistics.
Which brings us to the underlying psychology of the song.
Yes, let's go there.
When you look closely at the third verse, you realize this isn't just a song about a guy bragging about his houses. It's a song about a guy who is pathologically terrified of staying in one place.
Yes, the manic pacing of the list reflects a deep internal restlessness. The narrator outlines his philosophy clearly. He says, "Having lots of idle leisure, I pursue a life of pleasure, like a rolling stone in constant agitation."
Constant agitation. That is such a revealing, almost clinical phrase.
Right.
Agitation implies anxiety, nervous energy, a lack of peace.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on, "For those stay-at-homes may cavil, I admit I'd rather travel than collect a crop of mossy vegetation."
The use of the word cavil is spectacular.
It's a great word.
To cavil means to raise trivial, irritating, and unnecessary objections. It is a highly educated, deeply arrogant word choice.
Oh, totally.
He is preemptively dismissing anyone who questions his manic lifestyle as petty and small-minded.
There is a detail in our research notes for Porter-Pedia that highlights a phrase Porter considered using for this song but ultimately discarded.
Oh, the Italian phrase?
Yeah, dolce far niente. It translates to the sweetness of doing nothing.
It's the romantic ideal of peaceful, elegant idleness. Sitting in a sunlit piazza, drinking wine, and simply existing.
And I think it is profoundly significant that he threw that phrase out.
I agree.
Because our narrator, and likely Porter himself at age 22, is incapable of experiencing the sweetness of doing nothing.
There is no peace in this lyric.
None. If you stop moving, if you stop acquiring, if you stop traveling, you gather moss. And gathering moss means you have become ordinary.
Right.
It means you're boring. The constant agitation is a defense mechanism against mediocrity.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you've just articulated the defining psychological tension of Cole Porter's entire career.
Really?
Absolutely. We are witnessing the embryonic stage of his legendary duality. He was a man who fiercely desired to be the absolute center of elite, aristocratic life. He wanted the chateau in Touraine and the villa in Rome.
Right, he wanted all the shiny things.
But the moment he achieved that status, his fierce intelligence recognized how hollow and absurd it all was.
He builds this glittering, unassailable fortress of wealth and sophistication, and then he immediately stands inside it and points out how ridiculous the wallpaper looks.
Precisely. He merges aspiration with irony. The narrator invites you to marvel at the sheer scope of his property portfolio and then forces you to laugh at the physical impossibility of it all. Porter is mocking the very same upper-class pretensions he is actively trying to adopt.
Which is wild for a college student.
That level of self-awareness and structural irony from a college student in 1914 is staggering. It proves that his method, the high and low cultural collisions, the rhythmic cataloging, the weaponized proper nouns, was entirely intact decades before he wrote, "Let's do it," or "You're the top."
He figured out the code to the Matrix before he even left New Haven.
He really did.
He realized you could compress an entire, vivid, globally spanning socioeconomic critique into a catchy 3-minute melody.
And while the specific names and places have changed over the last century, the underlying human behavior remains identical.
Oh, for sure.
In 1914, Porter used the names Hiroshigi, Touraine, and Fashoda to signal a sophisticated identity to his peers. He was broadcasting who he wanted to be.
So what does this all mean for us? Which leaves us with a question that points directly at our own behavior today. What are the proper nouns you use to build your identity?
It's a great question.
When you arrange certain books on your shelf right before a video call, or when you meticulously tag the location of a niche underground club on your social media.
Oh, we all do it.
Or when you casually drop the name of an obscure European film director into a conversation. Aren't you deploying the exact same algorithm Porter was testing at Yale?
It is the exact same mechanism. We are all curating our own collections of cultural signifiers to prove to the world that we belong to a certain tribe.
Yeah.
We are all trying to rhyme our way into the lives we wish we lived.
We are all just walking, talking list songs. That is a brilliant thought to chew on as we wrap up episode 69 of Porter-Pedia. I want to sincerely thank you for joining us on this exploration. Please head down to the description right now. Click that link and listen to the performance of I Have a Shooting Box in Scotland.
You really have to.
You understand the machinery behind the jokes now. Let the syncopation and the melody bring it to life.
And if you haven't yet, listen to our deep dives on his later list songs.
Farming, You're the Top, They Couldn't Compare to You.
Right. Recognizing the DNA of this 1914 track will drastically change the way you hear his masterpieces from the 1930s.
And lastly, if you want to be the person at your next dinner party who can effortlessly explain the comedic tension between Jacobean soup tureens and early limousines, you need the Porter-Pedia book.
Over 2,600 references explained.
It's incredible. The link is right there in the description. Until next time, keep listening closely to the lyrics, keep questioning the architecture of the art you love, and maybe take a hard look at your own personal collections and ask yourself who you are trying to be. Thanks for exploring with us.